The smell is in the air. The holiday season is here. I'm Discovery Place meteorologist Elisa Raffa, and I got to take a trip to a science lab that's working to make sure our evergreens stay evergreen in the face of climate change. Did you know that North Carolina ranks second in Christmas greens, supplying more than 20% of the nation's evergreen trees for the holidays? And it's because of this guy. This is the Fraser fir. It's a type of conifer tree that only grows in the Carolinas because it is unique to growing on the southern end of the Appalachian Trail. And it has such a really nice piney aroma, which we all love, right? And the coolest thing that I learned on this trip was the science behind that aroma. So the tree has this compound on its branches that's meant to deter predators or pests like deer or birds or something that might want to like eat at the tree. But to us, that compound has a really low boiling point, which means it evaporates pretty easily. So it gets into the air. We love the smell, but to the tree, it's a way for the tree to protect itself. So this cool work is being done at NC State's Christmas Tree Genetics Lab. Dr. Justin Whitehill leads these horticultural and forestry health scientists that are basically trying to figure out how do we get these conifer trees to grow faster and be more resilient. Because across the board that we know that these conifer trees are being impacted by climate change, because as winters get warmer and wetter, that's going to make them more susceptible to fungus and disease and pests that love warm and wet winters for it. So what they're doing is they're looking at all different types of conifer trees. Actually, I had even learned that even places with warm climates like Guatemala grow conifer trees because they can sustain that cooler climate up in the highest elevations of the mountains. So basically what they're doing is they're saying, okay, there are all these different types of conifers, right? And each type of conifer might be good at doing a certain type of job, right? So like, let's say this guy is really good at fighting off the rot that happens in the warm and wet winters. And then maybe that guy is good at fighting off the bugs and the insects, right? So how do we give the trait from this guy? He's good at fighting off the bugs. How do we like give that trait to this guy? So they're trying to pull the genetics out of the trees that make them really good at being strong and resilient, because all the trees do a different job differently. And they're pulling the genetics and putting them into a petri dish to make these clone seedlings that have the most superior, best Christmas tree. They also want these trees to grow faster, because right now, once you plant this guy, it takes 10 years for him to get to this full adult stage, to the stage that you would want to bring him home. And obviously the weather and climate changes a lot within 10 years. So how do I know that they'll be able to survive well 10 years from now? So they're also trying to speed up that growth process and hopefully make it maybe within 5, 6, or 7 years to help the farmers and the consumers a little bit better as well. So these are all the things that they're trying to put into a petri dish. They get the clone little seedlings of trees, and then they can plant those seedlings into the ground, and then that tree will then help create more trees that are just as strong and resilient at fighting against climate change. In fact, North Carolina alone has more than 40,000 acres of Christmas tree farms. But even more important than the money value, each acre of Christmas tree can provide enough oxygen for 18 people in a day. So these trees are literally living and breathing for us. They provide so much oxygen. They provide habitats to organisms and maybe birds or things that want to live in it. And like any other tree, they also really help keep our carbon in the tree and in the ground. They really help us with those emissions. Now, when I visited a farm, I kind of wanted to ask, like, are we deforesting a lot of forests for all of these holiday trees? And what I learned was, when it comes to the environmental impact, these Christmas tree farms are just that. They are grown for the holidays. So we're not going into forests that already exist and kind of like deforesting them just so we can bring them home. In fact, when you think about real trees versus fake trees as far as that environmental carbon footprint, a lot of times the fake trees, while they last longer, right, you can keep that fake tree for 10 years or so, that environmental carbon footprint might be higher because a lot of them are coming shipped internationally, and they're made with a lot of plastic, right? So in the process of making those trees could have a higher carbon footprint. When it comes to these real trees, might have a lower carbon footprint because a lot of them are shipped more locally. A lot of North Carolina farmers send their trees all over the Southeast, from Virginia to North Carolina down towards Florida. So your carbon footprint is lower in that respect. And a lot of these farmers, this is their livelihood. This is their local crop. It's like a crop like any other crop, like corn and soybeans, right? That's grown for that particular reason. So it helps keep that dollar amount right here in our own state. Who knew so much science went into all your holiday spirit? That's something to think about as you deck the halls this holiday season. Happy holidays!